Welcome to the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast, where timeless biblical truths meet modern leadership. We are thrilled to have you join us on this journey of exploring how biblical principles can guide us in leading with wisdom, integrity, and purpose. Whether you're leading in the church, your workplace, or your community, this podcast is designed to inspire, challenge, and equip you for the road ahead. Let's dive into today's conversation and discover how Scripture shapes the way we lead.
Welcome back to Biblical Perspectives for Leadership.
It's great to be back.
We are diving deep again into source material, really looking at leadership principles drawn from the incredible story of Moses.
Yes, a story with so much depth.
Our mission today is, it's to extract how these ancient texts can inform us, both in high-level leadership decisions, but also just in the choices we make every day.
Absolutely. And the core dilemma we're looking at in this material is Moses' transition.
Yeah.
He goes from being this doubting fugitive hiding out to becoming God's chosen leader for a whole nation.
Right. And the central question really for you listening is a big one. How do we move past those personal feelings of inadequacy, when we're faced with something huge, an assignment that just feels overwhelming?
And to explore that, we're focusing today on the story found in Exodus chapter number 4. It's a powerful section.
It really is. We're looking at how Moses's initial, and it was profound, hesitation, how that reveals some timeless truths about, surrender versus just relying on our own strength.
Or perceived lack of strength, in his case.
Yeah.
It starts not with confidence, but with Moses really questioning himself. He knows God is capable, but he's just not sure he is.
Okay, let's start right there. Exodus chapter number 4, verse number 1. Moses voices this pretty severe doubt. He's afraid of rejection.
Yes, specifically from the Israelites. He literally says to God, what if they do not believe me or listen to my voice?
He's worried they'll say God didn't actually appear to him. So it's about credibility, isn't it? Authority.
Yeah.
Getting buy-in.
Exactly. And what's fascinating digging into the material is that this feeling of inadequacy wasn't new for Moses. It seems really deep-rooted.
From his past.
Yeah, you've got the trauma of killing the Egyptian, fleeing for his life. Then 40 years as a shepherd, which wasn't exactly a high-status job then.
Yeah.
40 years of feeling, maybe useless.
Low self-esteem building up.
Right. And then, bam, this massive assignment. Go confront Pharaoh, the most powerful ruler on earth. So his doubt wasn't about God's power. It was about his own perceived, failure status. God can do it, just not through me.
So how does God respond? Because Moses is basically saying, I'm not the right messenger.
Well, God addresses that inadequacy head on. He provides 3 really powerful demonstrations, signs,
Yes.
to confirm his power.
And these are laid out in Exodus chapter number 4, verses number 2 through 9.
Yes. God gives him proof. It's for the Israelites, sure, but you get the sense it's just as much for Moses himself to bolster his belief.
What are the signs again?
First, the staff, his ordinary shepherd's staff. God asks, what's that in your hand? Then tells him to throw it down.
And it becomes a serpent.
Instantly. Moses actually runs from it. Then God tells him to pick it up by the tail, which you just don't do with the snake, and it becomes his staff again.
Incredible. Sign number 1.
Sign number 2, put your hand inside your cloak. He does, pulls it out, and it's leprous, like diseased, white as snow.
Yeah.
Then God says, put it back in. He does, pulls it out again, and is completely restored, healed.
Wow. Okay.
And the third sign was a promise for later. If they still don't believe after the first 2 signs, take water from the Nile, pour it on the ground, and it will turn to blood.
Undeniable supernatural proof point.
Completely beyond human ability.
Okay, so here's a key leadership nugget for us, right? God sometimes gives signs, not necessarily to prove himself to the world, but maybe more to strengthen us, to strengthen the leader for what's coming.
That's a great insight. It shores up our faith for the hard stuff ahead.
And the takeaway seems to be, God doesn't really need our confidence, does he? He just needs our cooperation.
Exactly. Which brings us back to the staff. Why start with the staff? What's the significance there?
Yeah, I was wondering that. It seems so ordinary.
Precisely. That's the point. It was ordinary. Moses had used it for 40 years just guiding sheep. It represented his mundane life, his everyday skills, his current humble occupation. The moment he surrendered that ordinary thing, just let God use it, then it became extraordinary. The material even calls it the staff of God later.
But isn't that a real challenge for us today? In our jobs, our leadership roles, we're taught to rely on our proven tools, our skills, our experience, our strategies. surrendering the very thing we trust feels counterintuitive, maybe even irresponsible.
That is absolutely the tension. But the principle here is that God uses the common thing you already have to show that his power is the game changer, not the tool itself.
So if Moses had like a special royal scepter.
Right. If it was some golden, impressive thing, the lesson might be about using your status or wealth for God. But it was a shepherd's crook, plain, available. It shows God values our availability over any pre-existing qualification.
That makes sense. Availability over ability. But even after seeing these 3 miracles, Moses still balks, doesn't he?
He does. It's almost hard to believe. He pivots immediately from fearing rejection to now fearing his own performance.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting psychologically. We see this move in Exodus chapter number 4, verse number 10. He just lays out an excuse.
A classic one for leaders, too. He says, "Oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and tongue." He disqualifies himself based on his communication skills.
Basically, I can't talk well enough for this job. Which, for someone meant to persuade a king and a nation, sounds like a pretty valid concern from a human perspective.
Does. He thinks this liability, this lack of polish, just cancels the whole thing out.
But God's response here, this is powerful stuff. One of the strongest affirmations of divine empowerment you'll find.
Absolutely. God challenges that limitation directly. In Exodus chapter number 4, verses number 11 and 12, he cuts right through the excuse. He asks Moses, essentially, who do you think made the human mouth?
Wow.
Or who makes someone deaf or mute? Or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? And then the promise, now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say.
The implication there is just huge for anyone leading anything. That phrase, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call. That's right here, isn't it?
It is the absolute core of it.
Yeah.
We focus so much on the gap we perceive between our skills and the size of the task. We disqualify ourselves constantly.
And God's perspective is completely different.
Totally. Moses' weakness, his slowness of speech, wasn't an obstacle to God. It was actually the stage he planned to use to display his glory.
How so?
Think about it. If Moses had been this incredibly charismatic, smooth-talking orator, people might have credited his skill for any success.
Ah, right. They'd follow the man, not the message or the power behind it.
Exactly. But because he wasn't eloquent, when power flowed, when miracles happened, when Pharaoh was eventually confronted, everyone would know it wasn't Moses' silver tongue doing the work. It had to be God through him.
So when we say I can't, God essentially says, perfect, now I can show you what I can do. I am.
It shifts everything from our limited ability to his unlimited availability, if we're willing.
If we're willing. Because Moses, even after that incredible promise, he still resists. He hits this peak of resistance. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's just weariness.
Or maybe just stubbornness. In Exodus chapter number 4, verse number 13, he pleads, "Oh, my Lord, please send someone else." Just flat out asks God to pick another person.
Wow. After all that, how does God react to that?
The material says God's anger burned against Moses. You have to pause there. Why anger?
It wasn't just fear anymore.
It seems like it crossed a line into willful defiance. A failure to trust, especially after the signs, after the promise of I will be with your mouth. It risked delaying everything.
Yet even in anger, God doesn't revoke the call, does he?
No. And this is amazing. He doesn't say, fine, you're fired. Instead, his anger leads to a practical solution. He provides a partner.
Aaron, his brother.
Right. God says essentially, okay, you're worried about the speaking part. What about your brother Aaron? I know he can speak well. He's already on his way to meet you. This is in Exodus chapter number 4, verses number 14 through 17.
So Aaron becomes the spokesperson.
Aaron becomes the mouthpiece. God says, you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. He will speak to the people for you. But notice, God also tells Moses, you will take this staff in your hand.
Ah. So Aaron handles the talking, but Moses still holds the symbol of God's power and authority.
Exactly. It's partnership, not replacement. God provides help, an Aaron figure, to compensate for a weakness, but the core leadership, the mantle, stays with Moses. Aaron assists, but Moses leads.
That's a critical leadership principle right there. You can and often should share the workload, share responsibilities, bring in partners with complementary skills. But you can't delegate the fundamental calling. The buck still stops with you.
Absolutely. The ultimate accountability rests with the one God called initially.
So for you listening, if you're facing something daunting, God might send you operational support, an Aaron, but he still expects you to step up and lead. His patience isn't permission to just, stay stuck.
Well said. Fear might be understandable, but prolonged disobedience isn't the answer.
Okay, so with Aaron assigned to support, the path seems clearer. Moses finally agrees.
Yes, he asked Jethro, his father-in-law, for leave to return to Egypt. That's in Exodus chapter number 4, verse number 18.
And God gives him the green light too, right? Removing another fear.
Yes, in verse 19, God explicitly tells him, "Go back to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you are dead." He removes that specific threat from Moses' past.
So the path is cleared, the partner is assigned, the old threat is gone. What are the marching orders?
Simple and direct. Take this staff in your hand, now called the staff of God, and go. Divine instructions often come bundled with divine protection and provision.
God prepares the way before sending you back into a tough situation. That's reassuring.
Definitely. You get fresh orders and renewed protection for the journey ahead.
Okay, but now we hit this really strange, kind of jarring part of the story. It often gets glossed over, I think, this encounter on the road.
Ah, yes. The incident at the lodging place. Exodus chapter number 4, verses number 24 through 26. It is abrupt and, frankly, quite alarming.
What happens?
Moses is on his way, presumably with his wife Zipporah and at least one son, and the text says the Lord met him and sought to put him to death.
Wait, God sought to kill Moses, the guy he just commissioned, after all this. Why?
It's stark. The text implies it's because Moses hadn't circumcised his son. Circumcision was the non-negotiable sign of the covenant God made with Abraham. It was fundamental.
So Moses, the leader chosen to bring God's people into their covenant destiny, had neglected the core sign of that covenant in his own family.
Exactly. It seems God was saying, you cannot lead others into covenant faithfulness while you're compromising it at home. It's a sudden, harsh lesson about the link between private integrity and public calling.
Zipporah acts quickly, doesn't she?
She does. She takes a flint knife, circumcises their son herself, and touches Moses' feet with it, essentially fulfilling the covenant requirement and, the text implies, saving Moses' life.
Wow, that is intense. The takeaway feels pretty clear. Private disobedience, even seemingly small neglects of core commitments, can actually halt your public effectiveness, your public destiny.
It forces us to consider that our spiritual preparation, our personal alignment with God's foundational commands, has to match the calling he gives us. You can't effectively wield the staff of God out there if your own house isn't in covenant order.
It really raises that tough question for all of us in any leadership or even just influential role. Are there foundational areas of obedience, core commitments that we're kind of skipping, ignoring privately? And could that be hindering our purpose?
It's a sobering check. The standard for leadership often involves this internal integrity piece that must precede external authority.
Okay, so Moses survives that encounter, hopefully having learned a vital lesson about covenant commitment. What happens next as they get closer?
Well, now things start moving. God tells Aaron, who is presumably already traveling, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. That's Exodus chapter number 4, verse number 27.
And they find each other.
They meet. Moses tells Aaron everything the words God gave him, the signs he'd been shown. They're united in purpose now.
And then they go to the elders.
Yes. Together, they gather the elders of the Israelites. Moses, through Aaron, delivers the message God gave him, and they perform the signs right there for the leaders to see.
How do the people react? Is Moses' initial fear realized?
Quite the opposite. This is the culmination in Exodus chapter number 4, verses number 29 through 31. The people believe.
They believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when they hear that the Lord was concerned about them, that he had seen their misery, the text says they bowed down and worshiped.
That's incredible. From Moses' crippling self-doubt and fear of rejection
to the entire community bowing in worship and accepting the message.
Yeah.
It shows that obedience, once Moses finally stepped into it, created this amazing momentum.
So synthesizing that movement, it's powerful. His doubt leads to God's signs. His excuses lead to God's empowerment. His resistance leads to partnership. His private failure leads to a crisis and correction. And finally, his obedience leads to the people's faith and worship.
Exactly. When Moses finally just surrendered the staff, took the step, God started aligning everything else. He sent Aaron. He prepared the elders' hearts. He moved the people. Moses thought he needed eloquence. He just needed to be available and obedient.
So wrapping this deep dive up, what does this all mean for you listening right now in whatever leadership or life role you have?
I think the story makes it incredibly clear. God knows. He knows your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. He sees them all. and he still calls your name.
He's not asking for perfection, is he? He's asking for participation.
That's it perfectly. Participation, not perfection.
Yeah.
If you're willing to give him what's already in your hand, that ordinary staff, that everyday talent, that simple experience.
He'll take it and use it to accomplish what's in his heart. Something far bigger than you could do on your own.
And maybe the ultimate leadership takeaway is this. We spend so much energy asking God for more resources, more skill, more confirmation, bigger opportunities.
Always looking for the next thing.
Right. And we completely miss the power locked up in what's already sitting right there, right in our hand. Moses didn't need a fancier staff. He needed to trust and surrender the one he had. That ordinary shepherd's tool became the instrument of miracles.
From sheep herding to nation freeing with the same staff, that's powerful.
It really is.
So here's the final thought to leave you with. Your step of obedience today may be surrendering that ordinary staff you've been holding on too tightly. It could genuinely be the start of someone else's deliverance tomorrow. What gift, what insight, what story, what responsibility have you been maybe too insecure or perhaps too distracted by some private compromise to fully surrender and share this week? That's your assignment to consider.
Thank you for joining us on the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast. I hope today's insights have encouraged and equipped you to lead with faith, wisdom, and purpose. Remember, the greatest leader of all time taught us that true leadership is about serving others. If you enjoyed this episode and podcast, be sure to subscribe, share it with others, and leave a review. It helps us reach more people with these transformative truths. Until next time, keep leading with grace and walking in purpose.